Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here to review The Big Hit. So, it seems that people are interested in hitman assassination movies, but hopefully they'll be interested in a kidnapping film as well. So, we come to find out by the third act of this film, which is to be the biggest selling point, is that the third act, the big fight, is to go on in a movie rental store place. If that is to not go on and be ever so interested in you, then there's nothing I can really much more sell you this on. But man, was that fun. So we come to find that also within this movie, there's this weird turkey touching scene, which I had to put the picture of in the background, where Melvin and Kiko, they're touching one another's hands and also the turkey. And then we have Melvin that's like putting the stuffing in, but then he's like touching her hands. I'm like, what is this scene? Why is it going on for so long? I will be forever haunted by this scene, but also enjoy it for just how it is. But anyways, so this movie is goofy, dumb, fun, and that's all that I can write it off of. If I could just grade it that, I would. The Big Hit is to be a film that gives us Melvin, and he is to go on and immediately do the heavy lifting of his entire group of people who are going on and just kind of sifting off to the wayside, and then just hoping that Melvin is just going to kill everybody while they're just going on and they're just, yeah, like I can't wait for this job to be over because I'm going to get my extra bonus pay. So, and then they go on and they pretend that they did something so that way they could justify that they were to go on and need to get a bigger chunk of money than Melvin actually did, and by the end of this piece, which I found to be funny. So Melvin goes on after doing this jab is to turn around and just be like, well, we find that Melvin is in between two women, and one of them is Chantel, the girl who is endlessly wanting money from Melvin. And so Melvin, being the people pleaser, is to go to Cisco, who is to be kind of like the ringleader of this group, and be like, hey, yeah, I need another job. And Cisco is like, okay, all right. Like, we're going to go on. We're going to do this kidnapping caper. You win. And, of course, Melvin is. And then Melvin is to be, like, stuck holding the bag of this girl. So they go on. They do this kidnapping case. And so we come to find out when there is a ransom note, it's horribly misspelled or missaid or whichever, and that becomes hilarious, the dragging on of that. Also, we have the whole, like, them needing to call this father guy who is Nishi, and he is to be this supposed big wig movie producer that Cisco is saying, oh yeah, he has endless money, he's gonna pay up. And then we come to find the exact opposite, that this guy's going bankrupt, and he's going on and he's holding a sword to his chest singing opera or something while they call him for the ransom demands. So they have this weird tracer buster thing, and then like they go on and on and on about this whole tracer buster thing, and it just goes on forever. It just has a whole shelf life of that. So yeah, also in this movie there's white guys pretending to be rappers, so that would probably maybe offend or hurt somebody, but I don't really care. If anything, I guess it's maybe a sign of the times, or just something stupid for somebody to do in a film that people could probably laugh at. So we have Nishi, the bigwig producer guy, find out that his daughter Kiko is being kidnapped. So he goes on to a guy named Paris, who we will find out in this film is to be attached to the group of guys who had gone on to do this kidnapping, without Paris knowing of any of that. And so Paris is going on to say to Cisco, who is the ringleader of the guy putting together this whole kidnapping caper, hey, yeah, I just found out that my goddaughter was kidnapped, so you gotta figure out who was to have been the one who has done it. So Cisco is just like, okay, well, I need to just preserve my life at this point. Like, I gotta figure out who I just need to bury at this point to save myself. And so Cisco goes on and is to say that the whole ringleader of this whole put together thing was to have been Melvin. And then Cisco's like, Melvin, my own brother. And so Cisco rolls on all these guys, and eventually Melvin finds out what's going on. And so he's going to want to go on and clap back at Cisco. And by the end of this, there's this whole runaround, chase around to eventually get to also Melvin deciding to finally hand in his movie rental fee for King Kong Alive or King Kong whatever sequel movie. And so that ends up having the third act be within this movie rental store, this big battle between these brothers, and having to duke it out on this like chandelier-ish like thing. And it's like a chandelier, but it's like a metal truss of a thing. But anyways, yeah, because you have these movies that just have these like weird wonky kind of displayer things that are to be hung up in the air. So, and I guess all these movies are just be shit films or whatever that were probably just made up for this film, so I can go on and enjoy that. I was trying in the background to find if there was any movies that were actually actual films. I don't think I could really say that they were to be anything but like mockery things that they just kind of chucked up in there. But I appreciate the amount of work that went into that. Yeah, the turkey scene was effing weird. The way of which that all of this, like, they kind of kept going back to the same joke at one point where they're like, well, hey, do you guys happen to know where this guy named Melvin went? And then the next person comes into like, hey, do you happen to know where this Melvin guy went? Yeah. So I don't know, it kind of felt like a lot of those like the Wayans had gone on and done this one movie that was to be this this film where this guy kind of felt like a Shaft kind of character and was put in with this like group of people. I can't think of what the name is. Let me pause here and let me get to that. I'm gonna get you, sucker, or suckers? Yeah, suckers, something like that. So I really had to kind of bring that into my brain noggin. So so I haven't said already, if this film is to go on and feel very much like the Transporter Jason Statham film. It feels like the Mark Wahlberg movie that came later called The Family Plan. And also this movie is to kind of feel like the Italian Job and just those kind of action group films that eventually end up becoming about one person, and the focus in on that is to happen there. So there's a lot going on in this movie. We'll come to find that Melvin's character is also dealing with his fiance, bringing in her parents and the dealing of that. And eventually we'll find that there's like a falling out going on with Melvin and his fiance. But ultimately there is to be waiting in the wings Kiko anyways. So yeah, this guy is just going through women like it's tissue paper, I guess, to him. But at the end of the day, I can say that the big hit is to be a solid okay film. For those of you that are probably looking for an ass-slapping good time, there is at one point a locker scene where there is to be some guys that are just booty showing everywhere. Just wall to wall booty, I guess, in this film. So that is to be a good takeaway, I guess, for some of you that are looking for, I guess, some skin in this film. Uh, I think it's funny how Melvin is kind of dealing with this like dead corpse in this film, and just everything that could go wrong goes wrong on that. Where he's like putting it in his tub, and the dog gets hold of it in this trash, and like Melvin has to deal with like these cheap garbage bags. Yeah, like everything that could go wrong goes wrong with this. So this movie is stupid, dumb fun, but I would go on and recommend people checking out because it's a solid, okay, at the end of the day film that I would recommend. So, uh, I'd probably throw in stuff like maybe Killing Gunther, which is an Arnold Schwarzenegger film where a group of assassins go on and want to take out Gunther, and that's a goofy, fun film that deals with hitman and assassinations and whatever what have you. Um, and also Arnold being in this film, I'm like, really, Arnold's in this film? It was so weird to me. But anyways, so with that said, what I'm gonna go on and what I'm gonna review next is gonna be a little bit weird, but hang in with me here. Also, I'm going to go on and I'm going to go for scene, blow for blow this entire movie, break it all down, and do my weird, goofy bits of comedy, a very laughable moment that I enjoyed or was just be like, what about? Um, Hopefully, I'll go on and I'll remember the cast because some of these names, like, there's a lot of number of people that are in this one. I don't think I clearly remembered the whole entire cast list. But, anyways, so future reviews. It seems that after going on and covering the big hit, which I really just did that because I had come to find that people were interested in Hitman assassination movies. So I was like, okay, like it's either this or I'm going on and doing like The Nick of Time, which has Johnny Depp in it. I was to go on and try to find uh, more Hitman or even bodyguard films that are really to just be kind of fun and unique and something that I could bring different to the channel because really I've gone on and done a big number of Hitman and bodyguard or well Hitman and assassin like movies that people may not even be aware of that I've done on the channel. Even just recently I did the Replacement Killer, so you can check that out also. Because it seems that a good number of people have had already. So uh, I am tempted to cover movies like I Came in Peace, which has Dolph Lundgren in it. I would come to find out what's going on in that movie, and there's just something about it where it's like a car crash and I can't look away from it. To where I'm just like, am I really going on and am I really reviewing this? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm gonna review this movie that no one's probably gonna care about, and I'm just gonna have a good time and hope for the best for it. Uh, I it's called I Came in Peace, or it's also called Dark Angel, but I like the other title of I Came in Peace better. Because eventually, once you find out what's going on in this movie, you'll find out why that title sounds more interesting to me. I came. Um, so also there is to be going on and being projects that I have to kind of fit the bill of doing some horror supernatural things. I'm very much trying to figure out some fun, goofy projects to do instead of just kind of going on and doing scene for scene, blow, blow, blow. There was a TV show that came out recently called Widow's Bay that actually sounded like a goofy, funny project. As my mom would go on to have watched it casually in the background, and I kind of got bits and pieces of it. I'm like, what the heck is this show? And it's like, well, it's a new release thing. I'm like, okay. Like, I feel like there's something there. Like, I've seen a lot of goofy, weird films, like Man Seeking Women and stuff like that. I've seen a lot of weird, goofy crap in my time. Um, Also, there's a temptation to go on and get into uh, Scream finally and start covering that movie franchise. So if any of these things sound appealing to you, definitely let me know in the comments below, or give me your own recommendations of either Hitman assassination films that hopefully I may not have covered in the channel, because definitely that will help me out in the future. Also, yeah, like any random recommendations of any other kinds of things, I'd really appreciate it. Because it just helps out the channel. It helps me go on and find projects that maybe I have not heard of. Uh, and if anything, also, maybe there's going to be projects that are to be actually more popular than of which this may end up being. So, yeah, other than that, yeah, like, if anything, kind of business as usual for me to just kind of complete or kind of get to projects that I said I was doing, and then give that, do that, be that thing that I need to be. Of which, like, I'm going to finish Rambo's. I'm going to go on and I'm going to go into stuff like Monster, which is a cool, interesting anime. I hope, from kind of little snippets and clips that I've seen of it, it looks kind of slow, but I don't know. Like, there's something just about it that it's like, I haven't watched a doctor show in a very long time. I watched The Pit, um, which I probably should have gone on and maybe reviewed, but I don't know. I don't think a doctor show, like a normal doctor show, I don't think it'll go on and be um, the best to put on a review. Like, I was tempted to maybe do like Nip Tuck at one point, but even that, I'm like, uh, I don't know if I could go on and have that be really enticing. But I liked the Nip Tuck. I watched the out of that show. But anyways, so with that said, I think it's about that time to push into full-on breakdown spoilers of this so we can get this uploaded. There's a temptation for me to squeak in another project after this, so that's maybe my rush. But ultimately, I probably won't be able to go on and get to that other project because I always say that, and then I realize how late it is, and then I just backpedal and just like, yeah, I guess I would have loved to have gone on done that other thing, but I just don't have the time to squeak stuff in. Like, it takes so much time to watch this movie, then do all the cliff note things I need to do afterwards, and then actually do the review process. So, like, yeah, that just takes so many hours of my day, um, which probably a lot of people probably don't understand or care. Um, but I do it because I love it. I do it because I enjoy films and shows. And I hope that I'll find more and more people that also have that enjoyment, like movies and shows. And we'll go on and, like, I very much appreciated people going out of their way to actually heavily vote on something that I wasn't sure about. Like, there was a temptation to go on about, like, maybe I should really go on and push this more, so that I can find more narrow projects that everyone will enjoy more. But it's severely hard for my obscure nature of picking things. Um, what will really tweak people's fancies the most? Um, yeah, like, I'm really just going on and, like, I'm really saying that I wish this was. I'm not saying easier, but like I wish I knew what my audience was. Um, because the worst part of this channel is, like, I've gone and done way too much variety, so I can't just go on and say that everybody is just gonna all like one thing. That would be easy. But no, like, everybody just kind of comes from like random bits of something that I did like X number of time ago, and I'm like, oh really? You came from that? That thing was the one that you got here from? Okay, like, good. I hope I had some kind of weird, funny, stupid joke that I said there. Um, I don't think I got any jokes in this one, but regardless, let's have a ham slapping good time with a breakdown of this film. So, with that said, this is the boring part of the review that I'm sure no one gives a shit about. But anyways, I go on and I do it because of my secret delicious enjoyment of it. So with that said, let me know in the comments below which be your favorite Hitman, bodyguard, assassin movie. Because ultimately I will go on and look into that in the future. And hopefully it's not something that I haven't already covered, because otherwise you'd be wasting your time. But anyways, because there's also just some people that like consistently just don't think they ever do my homework or research or whatever on here. Which that could be true, because there's sometimes where I don't think that I've gone on to remember things. Like I like my mind eventually becomes a blender that I can't retain it all, and there just has to be more space to be put in somewhere. So that's the cross of which they have to bear down. But anyways, let's break this down. So the beginning of this movie is to go on and start off with them needing to tell you bizarrely what day of the week it is. I don't know why that is. So we have Melvin that goes on in the very beginning of this piece to talk to Vince in this film, and as they're talking, Vince is to give Melvin this sack, or these bags that are to be of a guy named Sammy the Bull. And Vince goes on to tell Melvin, yeah, I chopped him up in a good little number of pieces for you. And Melvin's like, okay, great. So Melvin takes these bags, goes on to make his way to his home. And I'm not really sure why exactly he is to go on and put these body parts within this tub the way he does, because ultimately I'm just like, okay, like, is he going to try to do what like Breaking Bad did, where it's like trying to like have acid and and destroy the body that way? Because if anything, uh you probably should not do it in a tub, because the tub will break. um I don't know, maybe they were trying to drain the blood or something like that. Either way, that's just gross. So Melvin goes on and picks up the garbage bags, and all of a sudden he finds that they're leaking, and so he's upset with Vince for doing that. So Melvin goes on, puts these sacks of body parts in this tub, and like blood is going all over the bathroom. And here's where Cartel or Chantel comes in, and like this girl just walks right in. Like, there's no ding dong, there's no knock at the door, there's no hello. She just waltzes right in. And we're just like, oh my god, who is this gonna go on and find out Melvin's secret of murdering people? And it's just Chantel, who knows every bit of Melvin's dark secret, and she's fine with it. So Melvin goes on to speak with Chantel in the bathroom, and so she's bickering with him about where has he been all week, and it's all about him working. And so eventually at one point there's to be a grabbing of her butt, and all of a sudden, like, the more that they start to fumble and tumble, and Chantel goes on and sticks her foot into a dead body, and then Chantel is like, what the heck is that? And then, of course, Melvin has to explain that this is to be Sammy the Bull. So Chantal walks off, And so we then see this workout sequence, and I'm like, at one point, we end up seeing Melvin in these shadows, which is not a good sign. That tells me, like, a part of this movie is going to get lazy at some point. And all of a sudden, we have him on this gymnast balance beam thing, and he's just swinging his legs around because at some point we have Melvin's character that is doing all these kind of like these really slick um like kick moves, these like kick flares, and he's going on and he's doing these like almost very acrobatic, like nothing like things. And so we have to buy within this film through Melvin's training that he is to be very acrobatic in order for him to pull off these things that he pulls off at some point within this film. Which, even that though, like with kind of what he's doing, I'm like, why does that even need to be shown here? Um, if anything, like this whole training sequence, it's always good to have a workout sequence in a film, but this kind of feels like a waste, I guess. But I guess if he's a hitman, you gotta have that in there. Like I wish that, like, if anything, he would have been working out with the group of guys, and they'd be throwing shade at one another, maybe talk about old stories or whatever to give us some backstory of this group that ends up getting kind of thrusted together in this film. So, because right after that we have Melvin that's going into the locker room, and we're just seeing asses and 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 just nude men. So the big takeaway of this movie that everyone needs to give a about is that Crunch likes to just jack off, because good grief, man, like this guy just likes to really jerk it till he works it. Because Crunch used to mention about how he had gone on to have sex since he was like 10, and that he never needed to whack off. So he had finally found the whole whacking off doing of thing. And so, like, his whole life has just kind of become that now. Like, we have Crunch that is going on and just like, man, I'm kind of busy, but we really know what he's going on and he's going to do. Like, he's like, I don't care about that right now. I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna whack off. Like, we even had a point where later on, where Crunch has to go on and just buy lotion, and then is having this hand um just strengthener thing, or hand um God, what is it, like expansion thing, where he's just really going on and he's working on his grip strength so that way he can really just go to town on himself. So bit of fun going on in here. So and so they're popping off, and they're making jokes in Crunch's expense about, like, oh yeah, he's finally gone on and been finally been able to beat his meat and whatever. So we cut to the group of guys. They're all going on and wearing construction gear, and so as they make their way through this hotel, it seems that nobody's none the wiser. Uh, they start talking about their weekend job, and so they go on. They synchronize their watches. They pull out of their toolboxes all these guns, and they're kind of getting ready. So Crunch goes on, he goes his own separate path because he's going to go on and he's going to take these bolt cutters, and he's gonna go on and he's gonna cut the electricity. Which, in all honesty, with the bolt cutters and the thing that he needs to cut, doesn't really make much of sense. But if anything, also, it's kind of funny because Crunch has no idea what thing to cut. So at some point he's just going on and just being like, eeny, meeny, miny, like he doesn't really know. And he's trying to figure out. So, and the guys are like, they're waiting for him. They're like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, okay, 5, 4, 3. They just keep doing this countdown until he goes on and he finally cuts the power. And then by then they're kind of caught off guard, and then they realize they need to go to work and they need to start popping off people. So we have the guy that they're going to be the focus on to murder here, and so these guys, they've kidnapped these women and they're handing it over to this guy in this bathrobe who I don't think has a name in this film. At some point, I think any number of these people are to probably be called Pimp or something like that here. So these guys are handing off these women, explaining how they're blondes and they have no tattoos and how clean they are and whatever. So the guy in the robe is to be won over by the selection. And so we then cut to also in the background some guys who are to have some equipment. The dumbest thing in this movie that does not make sense is you have Mark Wahlberg and Melvin and Cisco and all these guys. They have night vision goggles because they know that they're going to break the power and they know they're going to go in there and they want to not be blind. The people that are going on and working with this guy in the robe, they also have night vision goggles, and that makes no sense to me. I don't care how trained these guys are. You should not be expecting these guys should just have, oh, well, we can just easily get these night vision goggles and just be able to fight these guys. No, it would not be rational for me to expect that to have easily happened within any frame of real life existence. No. So, that right there is the dumbest thing in this film. So first, we have Melvin. He goes in there and he starts popping off people, and here's these guys who go on and start throwing on these night vision goggles. Well, Melvin goes on and has an answer for that. He starts bringing in flashbang grenades that are go on and have these guys be forcibly needing to take their night vision goggles off. So they've kind of really, like, they worked almost every angle here. So now with these flashbang grenades going on, Melvin is coming in with these sunglasses on, which is like, yeah, right, really trying to make our character look cool, as he continues to blast away more guys. And consistently Melvin is calling for the rest of the group that he needs backup, and Cisco is going on and telling Melvin, oh yeah, we'll back you up, man. Yeah, we'll back you up. And so Cisco is going on and talking about the money that they're going to get from this job. They're talking about how it's a bonus job, and Vince is like, wait a minute, this is a bonus job? And Cisco is like, yeah. Like, and so Yeah, so they're not going to go in and they're not going to go on and they're going to back him up. No, they're going to just keep waiting out there until like every guy is pretty much dead. Then they'll come bursting in through this door, start blasting people who are already dead, and then just be like, yeah, like they're banging their heads, like, yeah, we did it, yeah. And that is so freaking hilarious. And so Melvin goes on and it's to be opening up these windows, killing more people. And at one point, there is to be this guy that comes from out of this pool and and kind of rises up, shoots shoots Melvin, and there's a pause here. And then all of a sudden, Melvin kills the guy in the pool, and then finally, that's when Cisco and Vince comes in and they start popping off already dead people. And so Cisco and Vince, they make their way to the women and they're going on, they're hitting on them, and like Vince is talking about how like this girl looks like his breakfast and so on and so forth. And one of them are like, hey, you got a number for me? And the girl's like, yeah, 911. And they write them off as lesbians or whatever. It's like, so Melvin is off killing more people as these guys are just nonchalantly hitting all these girls. And Crunch is going on and trying to get people back on the ball because, like, hey, man, he'll get the bonus of this bonus mission. Like, so we have to go on and we have to at least go on and try to kill the main bad guy so we can get the big payoff. So Melvin is now at this stairwell and he is to go on and have this kind of rope like he's freaking Batman. So at some point Melvin is using this rope and he goes up in this rope to avoid guys, and then all of a sudden he goes on and he drops on the staircase railing and he just starts rolling on the staircase railing, which was a amazing visual, but I'm just like, how the fuck did they did that in this movie? Like, that was just visually just something of a sight to see. So we have at one point where the guy with robe is to be with this last henchman, and he's going on saying, hey man, the money isn't worth me going on and trying to save your life if I'm going to die doing it. So this guy runs off. He's scared. Obviously, he runs off. He ends up getting popped and killed. And so now Guy in robe needs to go on and see these elevators going up. And he just keeps shooting the elevators because he's just scared. So he fires into the elevators. No one's there. Maybe he should have taken the time to wait to see anybody in the elevator before popping off. Because he's wasting bullets. That's what I was thinking the whole time. So, as the guy does not see anybody in the elevator, he just decides to go in one of them, and the one next to him is to have Melvin in it. Melvin fires and kills him, and then Melvin tries to escape going back down the stairs to find that there are massive numbers of guys coming their way. And so Melvin is calling to everybody to get the heck out of there because, yeah, like, there is just an alarming number of goons that are just coming through this hallway, realizing that they're now outmatched. So Melvin goes on to have this big, huge metal explosive device that just looks so alien to me for how just very metal it is and how it's just draining this fluid. It was so weird. And it has this weird concoction of countdown. That was strange. So what Melvin goes on to do is he basically pulls like the Hitman Timothy Olyphant thing where Hitman goes on and he explodes his hotel room, and then he has a rope at the end of his balcony that he jumps off on, so that he splooshes into the water. And Melvin goes on and does the exact same thing. The one goofy thing is it doesn't seem like this whole ejection thing was all that well planned, but I guess somehow, yeah, like I guess maybe they knew all along. Like, yeah, if we run into any problems, just rope our way to the pool. So so yeah, like this action sequence right out of the gate was just like, man, this is goofy fun and entertaining, and it kind of tells us like where these characters are. So the group makes their way back to Paris, and Paris is to be, of course, if you guys you may have seen stuff like Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Cisco is to be the captain in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, uh, and that's who Paris is in this movie. So it was kind of cool seeing this actor there. I'm like, all right, like he's going on actually doing something other than Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but I'm sure there's a lot of other things going on within his IMDb that I'm not really aware of because I'm just not that good of a well-rounded knowledge of actors and their work. But anyways, I only know on Deep Space Nine. What a horrible life that I've led. That I've only known that one thing. Anyways, so Paris goes on and hands off the bonus to Mel, and immediately Cisco is popping off like, "Hey man, like I was the one who was to uh had killed that guy. Like, hey man, I should be getting this." So we cut back to the scene there at the elevator, and so Vince, Crunch, and Cisco, they're hovering over the already dead body of this guy, and they look at one another as like, you know what? Is this guy dead? You guys sure that he's dead? And like, yeah, gee golly, I don't know. Like, maybe you should probably put a bullet in him and make sure. So he pops a bullet into the guy and says, okay, he's definitely dead now. Like, definitely for sure he's dead. So Cisco takes the bonus money, which is kind of irrelevant because Melvin desperately needs to go to Crunch for money anyways after this is all over. So he should have technically gotten the bonus money anyways. Plus, he was doing the heavy lifting in that job. So, but I also like the whole banter back and forth, or the whole Cisco thing where he's talking about how, well, hey, if Melvin is to have gone on and said that he killed this guy, like I can't take that away from him because we're such friends, and it's like the whole honor system, but then also like there's no honor among thieves, technically. So they make their way to the locker room, and there's not a butt slapping good time here, but if anyways, Crunch is kissing his hand. Dude, this guy's getting a little creepy, even for me. That to go on and just be like, no, whatever floats your boat, guys. Whatever gets your motor running, I guess. But like, the dude is just in love with his hand, and I guess like, well, there could be reverse relationships, but anyways. So, uh, so Cisco is to say it's like, well, hey, Melvin, if anything ever happens to me, you can have my boat. And they go on a lot about that whole boat thing. By the end of the film, we would go on to have Cisco, who by the very end of it all, where like he's like, man, all I wanted was to just be back on my boat, and now I'll never get there, and I can't imagine it anymore. And Melvin's like, well, hey, I can imagine it. Like, you're there, buddy. Like, yeah. And like that whole breakdown by the end, like that was pretty good. So, but it's all kind of harping back to that like one beginning of the scene. Over, like, yeah, like I'll go on and I'll give you my boat when I die. And so they're really going on and they're bringing up that whole boat thing. This movie. Anyways, uh, so Cisco here brings up to Melvin about the whole, hey, yeah, I want to go on, and like I want to like offer you up this next mission, like this whole kidnapping thing. And Melvin turns to Cisco. It's like, dude, you're moonlighting? Like, no, like we shouldn't be moonlighting. Because if anything, if Paris hears about it, like he'll kill us all. He'll shit bricks. Like, yeah, we shouldn't go on and we shouldn't be doing any of that. So and there's a lot of babies being thrown around in this movie. Baby, why is there so much baby thrown around in this movie? Anyways, uh, so here's the also a really funny thing. You're in a neighborhood when you go on, and every house is the freaking same, and you accidentally uh go to the wrong house. Because I think I'd had that problem uh when I'd gone on to eventually try to figure out where my uncle lived. Because it was like, man, all the houses look the freaking same. Like I couldn't figure it out for the life of me. Where was his house at one point? Uh, but anyways, so I also had accidentally gone into a car that wasn't mine once. When we were at a Walmart, I went into a car that looked just like ours. I opened the door, and come to find out, it wasn't our car. How I found that out was there was a woman there, and she was like, "Excuse me." I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was our car." And the door opened. I'm sorry. So what a story that was. Yeah. But I guess we don't really go shopping that much anymore. So yeah, I guess for that, it's like that's a story that I could tell you once, but yeah, at least I'll never repeat that mistake again. So so Melvin makes his way to his supposed home to have his neighbor say, "Wrong house again, asshole," and then he goes to his right house. Like if anything, you would think the guy would have like realized that maybe his garage door should be painted a certain way, or maybe he should go on and maybe really have a definitive way to figure out which house is his. But anyways, so Melvin gets into his garage and throws this huge sack, and then he opens what looks like this drill station. He opens it up, and this is kind of like Mr. Smith when like Brad Pitt goes in the garage or the shed or something, and then he opens this thing underneath, and then underneath it is this whole huge cellar that has all these guns and all these things. And so it's very similar to that. So Melvin is going on and kind of hanging his stuff from this job and putting his guns away. And then he gets home and he gets this call from uh from the video game store guy, or the video game store guy, the movie store rental guy. And so the guy goes on and says like, "Hey, like return King Kong Lives or I'll kill you." Uh and so cuz it's been overdue for 2 weeks. So yeah, horrible 2 weeks. Oh man, what a horrible rental fee you must have. So so as Melvin goes on meets up with his fiance, he goes on and immediately asks her, like, hey, have you seen my copy of King Kong Lives? This is Pam here. There's some of these names of which that didn't kind of screen before ahead of time, and I probably should actually do that. But anyways, so uh, so she of course didn't see the copy, and so or can't figure out where exactly it is, and so Pam is more concentrated on her own ass, and so she's asking Mark if she thinks that her butt is perky or this and that, and so he's grabbing on it, he's squeezing it, and like I guess a lot of this is just to need to do something here, but I think a lot of this is just like it's silly, stupid stuff to just show that they're in a relationship together. But that's about it. It's stupid, goofy crap. So uh so Pam goes on and breaks it to Melvin that hey, I invited my mom and dad over for holiday weekend, and eventually Melvin around Pam starts to get this stomach irritation or this stomach problem, and he has to kind of reach for like the Pepto Bismol or something. And the more and more he continues to talk to Pam, and it's like, well, yeah, it'd be a perfect time to bond with my parents. And if anything, we can finally go on and tell them that we're engaged. And also, uh, Melvin's like, well, hey, well, yeah, did you ever tell your parents that I wasn't Jewish? And she's like, yeah, I haven't really told them that either. So yeah, so further and further, like, Melvin is getting even more nervous with the whole buildup of Pam's parents coming for all the many secrets that they've hidden away about their relationship. So eventually, this all leads to this bedroom, and more that um that Melvin is having his stomach just getting more and more just irritated. So Pam is going on and talking about her parents, about how uh their mother has a gambling problem and the father is a drinker, and we'll come to find out that this is all leading up to the father going on and getting drunk by this table, and then shortly thereafter that there's a whole battle scene that happens right after that, because basically since the guns are all to be revealed, then it starts off the popping off of guns and killing and murdering people. So uh so now we cut to Chantel. Chantel, it seems, is to also have her own side husband or her own side man with her. So they're scheming and they're talking about how, like, well, yeah, hopefully Melvin goes on and gives us another 25 grand because we've already gone on to steal 50 grand from him. And so the guy goes on and says to Chantel, it's like, well, hey, have you really been paying your bills off? And she's like, no. Like, I just kept getting more and more money off this guy, and still I haven't paid any of my bills, but I just keep getting more and more money. I guess hence for more reasons for her going on, and for her to keep going to this guy and just keep going on to ask for more money. But it's also just kind of funny that she's squeezing him for money, but then not paying anything off. So it's like, so what is she spending this money on? so so at one point Melvin is to have Pam get on top of him, and Pam is going on and saying to Melvin, I didn't find my money. Where's my money? Da, 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 da. And so all of a sudden Melvin is to wake up because he's dreaming. Like, oh, thank God. So he looks very next to Pam, and Pam is like full of like a mask and hair curlers and nothing like she was in the dream. So yeah, like obviously, yeah, that has to be kind of the joke here. So so Melvin goes on and calls up Cisco, and it's to ask him about if that job that they were talking about is still available. Because for whatever reason, he's just more haunted by the fact that he has to just find more money for this girl who doesn't need it, but uh, isn't really going on and doing anything with it. She just needs more of it because she's just uh, a money monger, I guess. So we now cut to Friday. So the group is all in this car, and we now have a guy named uh, Gump. And I gotta say here, this character is to go on and be the whitest guy in this movie. But he's going on and he's basically spitting bars like some rapper, like he's going on and he's trying to pretend that he's uh to be Eminem's or 50 Cents or somebody, I don't know. Whoever is the more relevant rapper of this modern day. I guess it's to really tell the behind the times of which that I am, that my go-tos are Eminem and 50 Cent probably at this point. But I think that they're probably still relevant to this day. Maybe, like, at least I didn't throw in more, like, really obscure rappers that people are just like, what the is that? Like Buster Rhymes, you guys remember that? That's how relevant I am. Anyways, so but Buster Rhymes is still relevant to this day. I just am it. I'm just not. So so as Gump and Cisco is having an interaction together, they're talking about how like Gump has his shit together. So uh so Cisco is going on and breaking down what they're going to go on and what they're going to do, and also who this guy they're kidnapping from is Jiro Nishi. So they go on and they say how this guy's to be a Japanese industrialist, and he's to be from a company, Nishi Electric. Da 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 da. Da. Yeah, it's a lot of. So so Cisco is talking about how he can't wait to get paid, and so Melvin goes on and turns to Cisco is like, "Well, do you really think that this guy's gonna pay out?" And yeah, they go on and they see how loaded this guy is, how he just has just just money that he probably doesn't even know about. So we then cut to Nishi's mansion, and with inside of it, there's the furniture that is basically being collected. And as soon as this guy goes on and sits down somewhere, there's a guy that's grabbing that chair, like, "Hey, man, like, we're taking this too." So Nishi is talking to his attorney, and they're talking about how the movie he did called Taste of the Golden Spray was to be a big, huge movie that he himself felt that he needed to star in, which was a big mistake. And yeah, like it did shit. Like it did nothing. But anyways, so it was the biggest movie ever made, but it didn't make the biggest amount of money back of return. So they're even having a poster shown in the background where he's like this big, huge hunk of a man holding this woman. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, like really, like they really did a good job, really nailing a lot of jokes in this film. So Nishi is to mention that he's gonna go on and he's gonna pick up his daughter, and turning to his lawyer to get money to pay for this person that's gonna be the driver to pick her up. And so Nishi mentions about how he needs a stretched limo to pick up his daughter, and so the attorney's having to pay him, um, so that way he can pick up his own daughter. So we have Melvin and we have Cisco. They're pretending that they have car trouble, so that way this stretched limo hopefully will stop by and help them out. So here's where Melvin turns to Crunch and asks him for 25 grand. And Crunch knows that Melvin is wanting this money because of Chantel, who just wants this money. And Crunch knows that like Melvin should just like leave this bitch. I hate using that word, but he should just leave her and get with the program. So, and also that he's like, yeah, save that mad creep. Start jacking it. Yeah, just go to town. God dang it, Crunch, you're so great in this movie. You're the legend of this film, Crunch. Love you, Crunch. Maybe not love, maybe love is too strong of a word. Maybe thoroughly enjoy your appearance upon this movie. So thoroughly deeply enjoy, and I mean deeply. Anyways, uh so as they're waiting forever for this limo, and they're talking about, hey, you want the truth, can't handle the truth. There's a bunch of weird crap going on here. Uh, God dang it, where's the limo? Uh, okay, finally. So the limo comes, and the limo driver has it kind of pops out of his head and says car trouble. So as soon as he does that, Cisco goes on, chucks out a gun, and kills the driver. So everybody gets prepared. So here's the goofy thing. So evidently Melvin was to either have a spare uh, uh, thing of clothing for this guy, or really they were to just go on and take this guy's clothing supposedly anyways, which doesn't make sense to me. I wouldn't go on and take the clothing off of a dead body. But also, they just killed this guy by shooting him in the chest. How is it that that doesn't stain the shirt? Because obviously, Melvin takes this guy's clothes, but there should be blood on the shirt, right? Anyways, so Cisco gives Melvin a picture of Kiko, who is the girl here, for him to pick up. So Kiko is with one of her friends, and she starts talking about a party being tonight, and all of a sudden, we then next see this guy coming in called Lance. Lance goes on and starts grabbing up Kiko, and Kiko is mentioning about how nasty Lance is, and that Lance is to mention how he has a reputation, and so we go on to have Melvin that is to ask, oh, I'm sorry, Miss Nishi, is that you? I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna be your driver today. And Kiko is like, wait a minute, like where's my normal driver? And Melvin is like, well, I'm sorry, he's sick today. So Kiko is like looking Melvin up and down, and so Melvin takes her luggage and puts it in the back of the trunk where there's a dead body there. And now we have Lance upset that Melvin isn't going on and picking up his luggage. And Melvin goes on and just takes Lance's luggage and is just kind of very like devil may care about it. And Lance is like, well, hey, I have a crystal uh thing in there. Like, you're gonna break it. And so, funny enough, there's a callback to that later on, where when they take out the briefcase that has Lance's briefcase in it, Melvin goes on and tells the guy that's with him, hey, kind of be like uh careful about that briefcase. There's a crystal in it. It's a fun callback to a dead guy that they shouldn't give a shit about it of their briefcase, but they bring it up, so I thought it was funny. So, because sadly enough, Lance will get killed here, foreshadowing to that happening. So Melvin gets into the car and starts heavily making out with Kiko, and to the point where Melvin is watching this whole thing be unravishing here, and Lance is to be like, "Hey, bro, privacy, please." And so Melvin goes on and puts the blinder up. So the further along as they're driving, and Lance and Kiko are getting hot and heavy in the back, the more that Kiko is starting to resist here, and Lance is to press more to Kiko, and it kind of gets to the point to where Lance is just ripping away this girl's clothes. He's almost going to take real advantage of her. So at this point, Melvin goes on and is to roll down the privacy section of the limo, whips out his silencer, pops Lance in the head, kills him, and now there is to finally be the reveal to Kiko that she's being kidnapped. So here's where we have the scene where Kiko is to be given this ransom note, and she has to have this tape recorder to go on and tape record it, which is like, this gag thing was amazing, because at one point uh we have Cisco that is trying to go on and take the tape recorder and try to do back what had been said on the tape recorder, but every time he goes on, he tapes it back to the wrong thing, or at some point he's going on and just having this moment where he's just listing off things on this tape recorder, I guess, to remember later, like his grocery list or something. And the guy's overhearing this, like, what the heck is this? So Nishi ends up getting more upset with Cisco, and it just becomes this like funny bit in the movie. But if anything, let's roll back to this. So Kiko is starting to read this, and so she's saying, "Father, I have been abducted. I am fine." And they're like, "It's supposed to say abducted," and she's like, "Well, that's not what it says." And then she cuts to, "If you do not pay the sum, our son, of $1 million." It's like, it's supposed to be dollars. Sum of $1 million. Dollars. So she's going on. It's like, that's not what the road. No, that's not what it says. So uh so here's where they go on. They go with the briefcase, And again, uh, here's where they talk about Lance's crystal in the briefcase to make sure that they're careful with it. But his dead body, they'll just throw us in the ground. It's okay. So back to the note. I may not be for long if you do not pay the sum of $1 million. You will never see me again, as these men mean businesses. So Keiko finally gets to the point where she's like, who wrote this? So, so Melvin and Crunch are just kind of like, I guess he's probably pissed about the note. So, uh, so Melvin. So Cisco goes on and tells Kiko to just improvise the note. And eventually, when she goes on and starts improvising it, she says how these guys are sexually frustrated, degenerate losers, and they mean business. And Cisco's like, okay, don't improvise the note. So Cisco goes on and writes on the piece of paper, rewrites the ransom note, and so she reads it. Dad been kidnapped, send $1 million or I'm dead. And he's like, perfect. Like, was that so hard? So they throw Kiko into Melvin's SUV in the back of it, and they tell Melvin that he's going to go on and he's going to keep this girl. Because they tell Melvin, it's like, oh yeah, you're going to go on, you're going to store her away at your place. And he's like, well, why my place? It's like, well, just cause it's the best plan right now. So here's again where Crunch goes on and says, I gotta get home and J.O. So, so here is where Pam's mother and daughter arrive here. Both, I think, Jean and Morton. So Pam goes on, welcomes her mother and father, and so I think here's where they start bickering about the cab ride, and because of course it's usual travel issues, and so they have to go on and have to bicker about something. So Morton is going on and asking for a drink, and they of course are saying that no, that he can't have one. So Pam looks at her mother and asks if she could just dress her age, and how they start mentioning how Morton looks like Brad Pitt, and he's going on and like unbuttoning his shirt and just putting his shirt in, or putting his hand in his shirt. It's like, ugh, like, ugh. So, so we cut to Melvin that is with Kiko in this basement, having watched King Kong Lives, because I guess he finally figured out where the copy is. So Melvin asks the girl if she's okay and that he'll be right back. So Chantal makes her way down there and starting to again ask where her money is, and how she's starting to just dislike Melvin now that she's not getting her money, her 25 grand. And so Melvin is telling Chantel that he's going to Crunches to get his money. And he's like, yeah, I'll call him. I'll get it tonight. Like, it's going to happen. So Kiko is kind of looking off in the distance and just being like, man, like, this guy is just kind of being mistreated by this woman. So she's like, I'll think about that. I'll figure out a way to just kind of take advantage of this situation in Kiko's own way. But also just being like, man, like, yeah, this guy's a nice guy, or he's trying to be a nice guy. So now we cut to Cisco and Gump. So the two of them are going to go on and they're going to call Nishi for the ransom note. And Gump is to have put together this whole uh, trace buster. And so Cisco is like, well, what if this guy has a trace buster also? Like, and so Gump says, well, I have a trace buster. So, like, just the stupidness that ensues within the scene is just funny. So they go on and they hook up the phone, and while that's going on, we have Nishi that is in this underwear and robe going on and going to put a self-killing knife seemingly close to his chest to do himself in. And then all of a sudden he ends up getting this phone call, which I guess that he is to just go on and be like, well, I guess I should probably just go on and answer this phone call instead of taking my own life with this dagger. So Nishi goes on and it's answer this phone call. Hello. So Cisco answers the phone with Mr. Nishi. You don't know me. Of course he doesn't. But I have something that you may want to hear. So Cisco goes on and plays the recording, and here's where Kiko is correcting the grammar, and then keeps getting to the point of every time he's trying to fast forward it or rewind it, I mean, it's getting to parts of which that are not the thing that he's supposed to go on and be recording here. Didn't he rewind this ahead of time? Didn't he think about this ahead of time? No, I guess not. So at one point he's talking about tooth polish, hemorrhoid cream. So Nishi just hangs up. And then finally, when Nishi gets to the phone again before he puts a blade to his chest, here's where finally, Dad, I've been kidnapped. Send $1 million or I'm dead. And so they say this is the person who is to have kidnapped your daughter, and we want $1 million or she dies, plain and simple. So Nishi mentions about how he doesn't have money and he's bankrupt, and Nico can't believe that. And so here is where Nishi, I guess, is to have his own trace buster, and he's trying to trace the call. And Cisco knows that he's probably going to go on and be tracing the call, so he eventually hangs up. So Nishi was not going to call the police or do anything of that. He was immediately going to go on and contact Paris, and Paris is going to deal with this. So Nishi calls Paris, and they talk like they're old friends. And so Paris finds out that his goddaughter is to have been kidnapped, and so Paris assures Nishi that the guy who did this will go on, he will die. So Cisco and Grump are all like dancing and have a good time, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna get paid. We're gonna get paid." So all of a sudden, Cisco ends up getting a call. You would think, with how just quick this whole thing is, you would think there'd be some connection there, but I guess not. So Cisco gets a call from Paris saying that be at my office in 20 minutes. So Cisco just tells Grump, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to the office. I'll be back." So now we have Gene, Pam, and Melvin. They're going on and they're playing cards with one another, and so at some point, Gene is starting to talk about Melvin and talk about basically who he is. And the more that talk is to be made, Pam is to just be like, "You know what, Mom, you're kind of like a little uh prejudiced. Like, if anything, I could have gone on and I could have married anybody. I could have married a black guy. I could have married a this. I could have married a that. And so uh Melvin goes on and just kind of gives up on the whole card game thing, and then makes his way to Morton. And so Melvin makes his apologies to Morton known, that it's like, well, hey, yeah, like, if anything, I do apologize that I didn't go on and I didn't ask for your daughter's or I didn't ask for your blessing for your daughter to marry. And Melvin is going on and being like a straight up guy with this guy. So Morton is like, well, hey, man, like, I'll just go on and I'll just take him to Temple tomorrow. Like, if anything, if you just go on and give me a drink. And so Melvin, none the wiser, starts to go on and starts to pour in a drink. So as soon as Melvin makes his way with this drink, both Gene and Pam are running into the room, slapping the drink out of Morton's hand. And they're telling him, never give him alcohol. Like, it's bad. Like, it's really bad. And what really just happens is that eventually Morton just becomes a really bad drunk and just starts yelling and calling out everybody. So, and he starts hurling everywhere. He starts barfing everywhere. So Cisco makes his way to Paris, and so this, of course, where Paris is to go on to reveal to Cisco uh, what had happened. That if anything, uh, order must be restored, and there has been transgressions being made. So Paris is to mention about how there is to have been an unauthorized kidnapping going on in his house. And there's all about like, well, who's going to be that stupid to do something like that? So Paris mentions that it's none other than his own granddaughter or goddaughter. And here's where Cisco's like, oh my god, like, oh, this sucks. Like, I don't know. So Paris goes as far to even say that he's searching for the one who had gone on to do this, and asking Cisco himself, what should you think that I should go on and do for the person that I find who is to have gone on and done this? And Cisco is like, well, I'd be busting caps. And and in a very funny way, Paris like, I'd be busting cat, yeah, I'm a busting cat, yeah. So give him a gold star. Like God, like they're trying so hard to be kind of very goofy and funny here, but it's actually pretty landing pretty good. So, so Paris doesn't know who this is, but he's going to have Cisco being the one to be the leader of this operation who's going to find the people who had gone on to have done this. So we now cut to Chantel and the boyfriend who are now watching King Kong Lives. And so Chantel's boyfriend just says, hey, how about the two of us just run away together? Like, if anything, we have more than enough money. How about we go to LA? Like, LA sounds fun, right? Like, we've gone on and we've taken a good enough money off of Melvin. Like, this makes sense. So we next turn into Saturday. So all of a sudden we see three guys coming out of their garage doors with the exact same mowers, it looks like, and almost very similar outfits, and it's strange. It's like a Twilight Zone moment. Like they're very in sync to one another. It's like watching a painting. It's weird. Like watching a painting. Yeah, that sounds strange, but anything. It's the way of this setup. So Melvin goes on to open his front door to find Chantel is there with Kiko and these garbage bags of this body. I'm like, man, does any one of Melvin's neighbors know what the heck is going on? Because if not, I'd be calling the 911 straight out the gate. So Melvin is now realizing, oh, like, I'm having to deal with Kiko, and now with this garbage bags full of dead bodies. So Melvin grabs Kiko and is to thrust her into this bathroom to hide her out from everybody. And or I think it's the bathroom. It's some room. So while that's going on, we secretly have Morton who's putting rum or he's putting alcohol in his prune juice so that way he'll go on and he'll ask his family for this prune juice, but it's secretly alcohol. Nice move, Morton. Yeah. So Pam sees the garbage bags that are outside and she's none the wiser. So Melvin goes on to try and put I guess he tries to put Kiko in the back of this car. I thought he put it in a separate room. I guess that happens later. Wait a minute here. So, let's correct myself. So, Melvin goes on to put this girl in the car. What happens is the girl goes on, and when the back door is to be kind of closed on this car, she gets smacked in the head and she gets knocked out. The whole family is going to Temple, and they're going to take this car that Kiko was in, and they take the car, they drive off with it to Temple, and then Melvin is trying to get them back out of the car so he can go on and get Kiko out of the back of the car. So he throws her in this blanket, wraps it around her, throws it over his shoulder, and Pam is thinking that it's some deer meat, because Melvin goes on and explains the way that the garbage bags are to just be some deer meat. So, which is really not, it's human flesh. So, so Melvin goes on. This is where he explains away the whole human flesh thing and tries to put it by these garbage bags. But this dog goes hog wild and starts grabbing at these garbage bags, tearing it away, which is hilarious. So Melvin, uh, so as Melvin is handling the garbage bags, Kiko tries to get out of the back of this car. She sneaks out of it, starts to run throughout the house, and so Melvin has to run back to skirt away Kiko into this room. When he finally does go on and get her back into the back of the car, and that's where she gets knocked out. That's what I was trying to explain there. I got a little confused. My apologies. If anything, this scene is a little bit confusing anyways. There's a lot of moving parts here. So here's where Melvin sees the dog and he runs back out to try to get the dog from stop biting the garbage bags. And the two parents are talking about how peculiar Melvin is. So there's a lot going on here. So as Pam is trying to get to Melvin, and Melvin is like, well, hey, don't go into the bathroom. If anything, there's a really bad smell in there. Pam is like, oh, okay. So as Pam is trying to find where Melvin is, and then Melvin is sneaking away through these rooms because he has Kiko, and he's trying to put her back in the car, knocks her out. So Melvin now is to be getting a phone call. The phone call ends up becoming from the movie store rental place. And so the movie store rental guy is talking about how a little girl desperately is crying because she wants King Kong Lives, but the store clerk has to go on and tell her, I'm sorry, but there's a guy who has rented it out and she can't have it. So at this point now, this guy is just effing with Melvin's character to want him to get the rental back into the store, and coming up with any kind of ways to just keep ad-libbing here for this guy to keep calling this guy in and hounding him. So, plus this guy is kind of an asshole anyways. So, uh, so Melvin refuses to go to temple because he comes up with an excuse that he's going to go on and he's going to cook them all a kosher meal, and that's what he's going to do instead of going to temple. But really what he's going to try to do is take care of Kiko. But if anything, they drive off with the goods, so that's going to be a bit of a problem. So Melvin takes the garbage bags and puts them in the garage, and then the family comes back because they had to pick something back up. Here's where Melvin takes the blanket, covers Kiko, uh, drags her back into the house. So, uh, so Gump is realizing that at a certain time of day, he needs to call Nishi or Jiro to give a follow up on the whole negotiation thing of how they're going to go on and how they're going to get this $1,000,000 or whatever. So Gump is looking at the time. It's like, well, hey, shouldn't I be calling these people by now? And Cisco's like, you better not call these guys. You better not do anything. You better just wait till I come back there to then do anything. And so Cisco is just praying that Gump is just going to be lazy for once. So So Nishi is like, well, hey, like if this guy has a trace buster, I'm gonna have a trace buster. God, this thing is so stupid. Like the review I'm doing is just stupid. It's dumb. I'm going through scene for scene, blow for blow, but whatever. I'm just having fun. So Melvin is calling Crunch and asking about that money, and also, or he's also talking about like, hey man, can I go on and have this girl like hang at your crib? Uh, because yeah, like I have this family over, and Crunch is like, okay, sure. So and again, Crunch is going on and getting his movie ready, and he's getting his his hand ready. He's getting his hand warm. So uh so Melvin goes on and says, "Hey, I'm gonna finally go on and I'll take your gag off, but if you do, you promise not to scream." And Kiko goes on and has her gag being taken off. So Kiko mentions to Melvin that she has to pee, and so he takes her to the bathroom, and she, of course, cannot go on and get her panties off because she is to be handcuffed from behind. So Melvin goes on, puts her, takes her panties down, and then eventually, after he waits for her to be done, he has to put them back on. And it's the whole like, oh, it's the whole innocence of this. This is all like intimacy and what have you. So Melvin throws Kiko over his shoulder. I don't know why at this point. She could obviously walk around, right? So Melvin asks Kiko if she's hungry, and I think there's a joke here of like, well, yeah, I could eat a horse, but Kiko doesn't want to go on and actually eat a horse. So Melvin mentions about how he has a pterodactyl here, and like, okay, here's where we get to the weird haunting scene that'll be burned in my retinas forever. Just the and I'm seeing it right now as I'm looking at the yeah, just that's why I'm to not try as much as possible to look at the screen, because I'm just gonna be thinking about that scene over and over again. Like I'd rather be going on and doing anything but looking at this scene, because just yeah. Why movie? Why? Anyways, so uh so Kiko is to find out that Melvin is to be engaged with Pam, but also has Chantel on the side. And so Kiko goes on and asks Melvin, it's like, well, why do you have two different girlfriends? And he's like, well, it's just complicated. So here is where Gump is taking a bit of time to try to figure out whether or not he should go on and make this phone call. Because Gump is to go on and really figure out that it's like, well, hey, maybe I should go on and maybe I should handle my business. And so, immediately with a guy like this, he should probably not be calling anybody for how honestly dumb he is. But, anyways, he goes on and he gives it a little jangle. So, Nico went to best answering the phone, and so Gump goes on and tells him, Mr. Nico, noon today, $1 million cash. I need to go on and bring this to the McBride Trail. And we have Nishi that's going on and be like, well, where is McBride? Where is that? Where are we going? Where am I going? What? So he's saying this, and then there's a timer on this tracer. So Gump is going on and just gibbering his words. He's just like, and so Gump is just like, well, the trail, like the place that the, and so eventually, as the Tracer gets ever so close to figuring out where Gump is, Nishi just says, like, oh, okay, yeah, I figured it out. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's a trail. I get it. So they hang up the phone, and Cisco's like, God dang, why did you have to make the phone call? You couldn't have texted them. You couldn't have called them ahead of time. You could have gone on and send a pigeon his way. He could he could have called somebody to call him to call. Any number of things could have happened here. Anyways, so the trace is complete, and there is a picture of Gump. So now Cisco and his men are racing off to kill Gump of all people. So now Kiko and Melvin are kind of having this almost like therapy like talking. And Melvin is talking about how his life is miserable and that he's just such a people pleaser and 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 that Chantel and Pam are just taking advantage of Melvin here. So uh and that Kiko is trying to tell Melvin, it's like, well, yeah, you should do whatever should make you happy. And so so now we cut to Gump. Gump is all of a sudden just watching his TV, just kind of minding his own business. And all of a sudden, all these red darts come into his room, or red dots come into his room. It's like, what the heck is this? So a group of men all come bursting in, and they're all thrusting guns at Gump's face. Then Cisco is going on and grabbing Gump so that way no one else gets their hands on him. So Cisco is consistently like realize he's kind of looking back at the guys and then he's like looking back at Gump. So Cisco tells Gump, "Hey, if you want to still breathing, you better tell me, Melvin, where she is and who the Melvin has her. Who is the mastermind behind it all, Melvin?" And then Gump is like, Melvin. He said Melvin, guys. He said right there. Did you hear him? He said Melvin. Melvin, my own brother. Like, how dare he? My dear sweet brother Melvin. He has besmirched me this day. So I mean the humanity of it all, right? Anyways, so shortly thereafter that Melvin or Melvin, Cisco is to drop Gump onto the ground, grab for this knife, and grab onto Gump, pulling him through this area, stabbing him and killing him. And so Cisco tells Gump under his breath, it's like, well, hey, normally you would go on and you would die to do whatever I asked you, and now at this point, you're going to live up to that. So So Cisco is saying no more Mr. Nice Guy, the gloves are off, and he's gonna find Melvin Smiley, and he's gonna kill him. So now there's a phone call coming, and Paris is getting a phone call being explained that Melvin was the one behind all this, that that Paris would have never have thought of Melvin, but I guess, yeah, like he's it. Like, okay, go on, you go on and find him. So, uh, so now Melvin and Kiko, they're trying to figure out how to cook this Jewish cooking, or this kosher meal, whatever is to be the proper term here. I apologize if I'm to say out of I have to say out of well, words here. I can't quite figure out the exact terminology of this. So Kiko is guiding Melvin about how to cook this because somehow Kiko knows how to cook. And Kiko is like, well, hey, I'll go on and I'll help you if you just free me from these cuffs. So Melvin goes on and cuffs himself to her. And so at some point, Kiko is like stirring this bit of pot here. And Melvin, it's like, oh, so you can cook? It's like, did you ever cook for your father? And Kiko is like, no, my father doesn't even know I'm alive. And this, so I'm like, wow, so why is he going to go on and pay for your ransom then if he doesn't even know you're alive? So, which is just kind of a weird thing. I guess he's just paying for her ransom just because of, like, just next of kin, any number of other, I don't know. Like if he dies, who is he going to leave his fortune of which that he doesn't really have of to? Maybe just his house. Anyways, so here's where Kiko is to teach Melvin. Like they're in this bowl and they're putting their hands in together. I'm like, what is this, like Patrick Swayze's ghost moment, or it's gonna be like, oh my love, yeah, like we're freaking doing like the pottery thing here because they're just putting their hands together and they're yeah, like let's put our hands in the seed. So they're both putting their hands in the bowl, and then all of a sudden they turn to the turkey. And here's the scene where they're going on, they're putting their hands in the turkey and they're touching the turkey, and Melvin needs to keep putting stuffing in, but then he's also just touching her. It makes no rational sense to all of this. But all of a sudden, the further they just keep touching the turkey, all of a sudden I think they spill like some soy sauce or something. I have no idea. There's some kind of sauce that falls onto Kiko's leg, and Melvin has to go on and lift Kiko onto this uh onto this thing, like onto this just kind of little table thing here, uh, and this little shelving unit here, and what he basically puts her on a like a table like thing, and he goes on to wipe her leg in the most seductive way he possibly can, and so the two of them are talking about how there is to be this thing of food, or this kind of animal that goes on and just gets prepared just for it to get killed, and then shortly thereafter that Kiko is to kind of mention about how she's young, but if anything that should not go on and should affect that the two of them could be together or whatever, or intimate or what have you. So the further and further they're face to face, closer, intimate thing going on, Kiko finally goes on, takes this hammer, smacks Melvin in the face, and then starts to run off. To where Melvin goes on, grabs her, throws her into this trunk. I'm like, thank God. Like, man, Kiko should have tried to have escaped way sooner than this. But that would go on and kind of conflict with everything that they're intimately building up here, to where even, yeah, Kiko does go on and eventually end up with Melvin because the two of them are to run away together at some point in this film by the end of it. So is that to go on and just tease that these people are going to die? Probably. It's going to ruin the ending, but regardless, who knows how long have people really been here for. This movie is an hour and a half, and I'm probably going to go well over that. So I usually get around maybe 2 hours. I hope maybe under that, but I doubt it. So I'll probably go an hour over, probably. So, after Melvin goes on, puts Kiko in the trunk, he then realizes that the bird has been cooked, and I mean on fire cooked. So he makes a call for kosher food catering, and he pretends that he had cooked these things. So the family comes back, and so Gene and Morton are telling Pam, yeah, well, maybe you'll go on in a full stomach and you'll be willing to convince him that the relationship is all over with. So Pam is to be convinced by her parents that this relationship is done with. And and then Melvin will go on and even ask Pam, it's like, well, yeah, were you really going to go on and were you really going to break up with me? And Pam was like, oh, yeah. And so Melvin's like, well, okay then, like, because he was already going to move on with Kiko anyways. So, uh, plus also there's gunfire and if anything, like I'm sure this could convince Pam to dump this guy anyways because of how he's an assassin and she just finds this out now and and how he's had this secret life this whole time. So so now Melvin is putting just schmutz on his face to pretend like he's been cooking all day. And so Melvin ends up getting a phone call from none other than Crunch. Like this guy has this hand expander, hand strengthener, grip strength thing that's to be like they had to go on and they had to find the weirdest effing looking thing because there was like springs coming out of this thing. It was like this big huge like elaborate thing, but maybe it was a thing that they could only find for those times. It was to be this only weird goofy looking string thing. um Looking at this equipment now, it's much more advanced. Like it's the ones where you kind of just have to go on and just kind of have to just smush with your hands, or there is still that, but it's kind of done in a different way now. um I think they at some point give that for people that have probably gone through like heart attacks or strokes, and they kind of give them when their hands are to kind of uh, go through the whole process and they lose feeling out of their one hand, which is sad. Um, but yeah, it's kind of true. Like, but also like some people can just kind of get that just for grip strength, which I think I'm kind of interested in eventually following up and trying to do that with. So for both hands, not for one singular one like Crunch is doing. What a weird. Anyways, so so Melvin is getting a phone call from Crunch, and so Crunch is giving Melvin a heads up. Hey man, you better get out of town. If anything, Cisco is going on after anybody who had gone on to uh had done that kidnapping thing, and yeah, like if anything, uh like yeah, you should get out of Dodge quick in a hurry. So because they're immediately making their way to Melvin's place. So so Gene and Pam. Oh, um, Gene and Pam had both gotten their hair done, and and Gene says to Pam, it's like, oh yeah, like since you got your hair done, like if anything, do you feel a lot better? And kind of like the way that their hair is just all like coiffed, and it's like, man, this looks like very like Jersey Shore-ish. No offense to, but it kind of, like if you watch Jersey Shore, like yeah, their hair is like mounted up here. It's like a huge uh like kind of weird kind of a build of a hairstyle there. So uh So Melvin goes through his garage, gets all of his guns and weaponry together, and so Gene goes on and hands Morton his prune juice, and as Melvin gets into his car, that's when Cisco and his men are going into the house to try to find Melvin. Melvin looks at the heart with Pam and Melvin in it, and is like, like, God, should I go in there? Should I try to make this up to Pam? Should I tell her that I'm leaving? So, or should I just protect them? Because who knows if these guys are looking for me, if they're going to take them hostage uh, to be as a way to get me to come back. So, as Melvin makes his way seemingly back into the dining room, there is to be Cisco and a number of goons, and Pam, Morton, and Gene at the table. So, Melvin and Cisco are to be eyeing one another. Like, yeah. So, Melvin makes his way back to the table, and so here is where Morton is to have gotten slosh drunk, and he's talking about how his wife's plastic surgery is it cost him a huge amount of money, and if anything, like the surgery has made her look like a 25-year-old ape. And so Gene is going on and desperately asking for compliments for everybody, and she's like, I'm so attractive, right? And everybody's like, yeah, sure you are. Like, certainly, yeah. So, uh, it's like, yeah, you're a creature, yeah. And Morton's like, yeah, creature, yeah. So, then Morton goes on and turns on Pamela and starts talking her up. And so, all the guys from underneath the table are getting ready to have their guns all put bullets in them. And they're cocking them and they're doing whatever they need to do underneath the table. And so then Morton finally turns to, of course, now his son-in-law Melvin, and he talks about how nice he is and how very innocent he is and this and that. And so, in a very Rainmaker like way, or Rain Man like way. So at some point, the more and more that Morton starts to fly off the handle, eventually he finally grabs the tablecloth and he starts pulling away with it. And as soon as that happens, that starts to have the guns start to pop off here. So Melvin blasts his shotgun, and the two guys that were with Cisco go flying. So now this feels very much like Mr. and Mr. Smith, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I said Mr. and Mr. Smith. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie film where they're like, still alive, baby? And Brad Pitt is like, oh, plah, 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 with his guns to pretend that he's dead, but he's still alive. He's going to go plow. He's going to go like plow. So, Cisco and Melvin are now running through the house. And while that's going on, Morton is still barfing, and so Cisco is holding up this pillow for Morton to barf on the pillow. It's hilarious. Uh, so Cisco is telling how he loves Melvin, and Melvin's like, "Well, yeah, how you love Gump, like how you killed him." So there are more guys running in here eventually to get to, of course, Melvin. And while more guys are coming into the house, here's where Melvin turns to Pam, and Gene is saying like, "Well, hey, like Pam, yeah, like, were you really gonna break up with me?" And Pam's like, "Yeah," and Gene's like, well, I'm sorry about the meal, Gene." Like, so Gene is like, "Well, it could be worse." So Melvin goes on, makes his way outside to the garage, bursts through the garage, just rams through it as the garage door comes flying out. So Melvin goes on and shoots off all the tires of the guys that were after him. So Melvin peels off, and here's where we have Chantel and her boyfriend, and they're talking about their drive. So we see Paris and Nishi. They're in the car with a number of guys. They're in their car, and there is also a car full of guys. So Melvin is to have in the back of his trunk Kiko. So these guys are very much having reckless abandonment with Melvin's car because all they see is Melvin. They don't think Kiko is in the car, but god dang it, they have some real reckless abandonment with this car. So Melvin goes on to like blast his windshield, or gets his windshield broken in, and so Melvin rips the car around, starts blasting away at the thugs, and eventually there is a car accident that happens where Melvin's car clips, I think, Chantel's car, and all of a sudden we then see that Melvin's car collides with Nishi's limo, and the limo comes careening off into this hill. So now Melvin and Kiko are in the front seats as Kiko has made her way from the trunk to then make her way to the front part of the car as she has gone on to transition there. So Chantal is to mention about how her leg is broken, and so Melvin makes his way back to one of the thugs' cars, uh, throws a grenade to it, and then it explodes. And then he finds a copy of King Kong Lives in a briefcase full of money. So Nishi and Cisco get out of their limo, and Nishi is to mention about how he called AAA. Well, that they should call AAA, but he doesn't have the money for it. His card expires, uh, so if anything, Paris will have to take care of it. So Melvin makes his way back to Chantel, and he mentions about the copy of King Kong Lives. Hey, you're going to keep this copy of King Kong Lives, right? And Chantel is like, well, like, he wanted it, not me. Like, and so So Chantel says to Melvin, it's like, well, hey, can we just talk about this? As he walks back into the car and the two of them drive off. So it's the reveal that Chantel did want the movie and was going to keep it. And it was funny because even Melvin was shaming Chantel for stealing the the movie rental. So Cisco rips into Chantel's car, taking out the driver, and then as Chantel and her boyfriend are now out of the car, and Cisco has gone to ask, hey, if you happen to see where Melvin went, is like, do you know where he's going? So shortly thereafter that, Cisco peels off, and then there is Paris that comes in and asks, like, did you guys happen to see where a guy named Melvin had gone to? So, and they say it in the exact same ways. So we now cut to Melvin. Melvin is to have made his way to Big Top Video, which is this movie rental store, and so he's going to go on. He's going to hand in this this movie finally because it's been late for 2 weeks. So so Melvin is talking to Kiko, and there's a possibility that they're going to run away together. But Melvin's like, well, hey, yeah, you got to know something about me. I'm a contract killer, and I murder people for money, and they all have been bad people. So, and Kiko is completely fine with that, and Melvin's like, well, yeah, but if you stay with me, you're always going to be in danger. And Kiko's like, well, yeah, I'll enjoy the adrenaline rush. Uh, so Melvin goes on and says, like, well, hey, yeah, like, so if we're gonna have this relationship, it has to be mutual, and this all bullshit. I'm like, man, like, come on, like, what the is Melvin talking about this whole mutual bullshit? So, like, of course she's into you. So, Melvin explains, okay, I'll return this tape, and then we'll run off together. So, all of a sudden, Melvin's car gets collided by Cisco's car, and they go off this cliff, and they're now dangling on this tree branches. And Melvin tells Kiko to slide from the back of the car and get out that way. And so we have Cisco's car that goes off this hill. And so Melvin goes on to find where Cisco's car is, and the two of them are having uh, a car slash human chase here because Melvin goes on to spot the King Kong Lives tape, and he's realizing that I need to turn this in. Uh, Cisco is going on and having his car, and he's like, well, hey, I'm going to run this guy down, I'm going to kill him. So I love how this is all about a movie rental tape, and that legit, Melvin needs to go on and realize he's going to put his life at risk just to get this tape. So, because it's in between the two of them. So, Melvin goes on, gets the tape, and after he goes on and gets the tape, Cisco's car goes flipping. And so Melvin and Cisco are now fighting. And at some point, finally, Melvin's car, after the tree branches, starts to fall and then starts to make its way to land on Cisco's car. Melvin is to assume that he had gone on to take out Cisco with this explosion. So Melvin looks back, assuming that Cisco was dead, and so Melvin is now making his way back to the movie rental store. So the movie store rental guy is to find out that there is this huge, massive display that is the most expensive one known to man, and it's like because there's this like gold statue of this movie of Taste the Golden Spray, of which that this movie is to be called, and it's this big, huge, lavish, like gold thing that they probably in this movie spent way too much money on. But it's the joke of it all. So Melvin makes his way into the store, and the movie store rental guy looks at Melvin's face, looks at the wanted wall, and sees Melvin Smiley's picture on it. So Melvin gives the movie back to the guy, and he is so nitpicky about this tape. He goes on and mentions the late charge, but then he mentions, oh, you didn't rewind this movie. Oh, that's going to cost you extra. Oh. So it gets to the point where Melvin gets so annoyed with this guy and just starts grabbing him. He's like, you know, I'm never going to go on and I'm never going to rent another movie at this store ever again. Because, yeah, they're going to run away together anyways, him and Kiko anyways. So what does it matter that he's going to go on and be at the store? But it's the whole principle of it all. So Kiko makes his way through the doors, and we find out that Cisco had slid away from this explosion and found his way into this little bit of water to avoid the explosion. He survived. So Cisco gets his blades out, and so now Melvin and Cisco are fighting it out in this movie rental store, which is the greatest thing ever. So, Cisco, with his blades out, has Melvin forced to then take his yellow goofy hoodie out and use that as some kind of way to kind of have like this defensive fight against this guy with two knives. So as they're fighting, there's like the knocking down of all of these like movie shelves. There's at one point where they lodge this guy's arm and they kind of bend it, which I'm like, yeah, like I had my leg trapped in a ladder as I was accidentally like walking down the ladder once. And yeah, I know what that feels like. I accidentally popped my knee out of socket just by incorrectly going down a ladder and got my leg caught. Because as I was kind of leaving the ladder, my leg got caught and then my knee popped out of socket. So because if anything, like nobody was really giving a shit about like that I hurt my knee, and everybody was just expecting, well, yeah, you can go on and kind of finish up tonight, right? Because we were having to go on and move all these mattresses, and I was the only one that could do it. So I popped my knee back into socket, because yeah, it was dislocated, and then I just kept going throughout the night. I probably should have freaking milked it and been like, "Oh no, I'm injured. Like I have to go on and I have to go to the hospital and have this get popped back because legit, like that's what happened anyways. I could have really milked that shit and really could have gone on and really gotten workman's comp or anything like that because I would have gotten paid that night anyways. Um, but yeah, I didn't. Like, I just popped it back in and just kept on working because that's what I did. And if anything, like, these stores really never really cared about any of that kind of stuff. When I would do that kind of shit all the time, I would work hurt, I'd work sick, I'd work all kinds of things, and no one really ever cared. It's yeah, uh, and then also I'd get like promotions. I'd have to go for promotions, and no one would care to give me those. Because like, no, like if anything, you're good where you're at, and we're not going to give you any more pay. So that's when I would just be like, well, okay, we'll just move on to this other place that's going to give me more money. Oh, well, don't do that. Well, then pay me more. Justification. Anyways, so God, there's every time I gotta keep pulling back these old stories that just why? So uh, so now both guys are on this upper level of this movie rental store, and they're again thrusting more movie shelves. And there's at one point where they go to this sign that says number one customer of the month of the adult section, and they look up at it, and it's none other than Crunch, and they're like, huh? They're looking at it just baffled by this sign, and Cisco is having his arms just like Mr. Oh man, this is gonna be offensive. Like Mr. Clean, but yeah, like he basically like he has a tank top on, and he's smiling, and the guys are just like, what the fuck? And then they just go right back to fighting. So here's where they get on this trutch, and it's like a chandelier, um, but it's just this metal piece that they're just dancing on now. So this thing is swinging around, and here is where Melvin uh stabs Cisco here. Cisco goes down, and he's at this point assuming he's going to die here. So Cisco starts to talk about his boat and how he can't imagine it anymore. And Melvin goes on like, "Well, yeah, I can imagine it. Like, yeah, I definitely feel that you're there." Like, so Melvin is going on and like building the scene for Cisco as he's dying, which I just thought like this whole definitive going out thing was just kind of funny, and I enjoyed that. I guess one last little laugh right before Cisco dies. For how Cisco, man, Lou Diamond Phillips is so great in this movie. Just the weird, goofy comedy he was delivering in this film. Um, like this character is to probably be like that and Crunch, like that deadly combo is to just be just two really good things going on in this film. So, uh, so after so Cisco is to go on and be grabbing onto Melvin's explosive device, and all of a sudden we see that this chandelier is starting to break apart. So Melvin runs to another part of this movie rental building so he can avoid this chandelier or this item falling. So we see Cisco definitively dead, but now there is to be this explosive bomb countdown. So of course there has to be a big explosion going on in this movie. So Melvin runs out of the big top video, and he makes his way back to Kiko, who we find is back with Nishi and Paris. And so now the only thing left, or no, wait. Oh yeah, I'm kind of right anyways. I'm kind of right in a way. So we'll stick with what I said there. Because Kiko is kind of at this car. Eventually, this explosion happens. Kiko gets this picture of Melvin thrown at her. She picks it up, and then her father is right there. So Melvin feels like there's nothing left to do but to run back into this building, and then the building explodes. Big explosion happens. Here's where Kiko gets the picture, and the father is comforting the daughter here, as now the movie store rental guy is like, "Oh my god, my building explodes!" He's crying. Like, I guess it's lucky that he found his way outside of the building, right? As this fight was going on. So, if anything, we cut away here. Kiko is explaining to her best friend about how they've made now a movie about her kidnapping, and that her father has now gotten in the green as far as funds is going on and being concerned. So now Kiko is going on and getting picked up by this limo, and the limo driver ends up saying something to her, and Kiko for some reason is to assume that maybe it's Melvin, but all of a sudden the privacy window goes down and it's revealed that it's Vince. Vince, ooh, yeah. So all of a sudden there's an opening of this door. Melvin appears to her, and and Melvin is telling Vince, "Hey, let's get out of here." So Kiko's like, "Wait a minute, you went to this building. How did you survive?" And so Melvin goes on and mentions about how the displayer that uh, that Kiko's father made for this store was actually a very durable display, so much so that with that blast, he kind of protected himself with this display, and that's how he survived. So I guess that's one last joke here. So the next thing we see is the two of them together. They make their way onto this boat and they sail off into the credit scene. So with that said, I think I'm gonna try and sail off into going on and calling this an upload. Thank you for watching this for however long you're going to, because at the end of the day, I can now say that I've watched The Big Hit. Um, I don't know, like, there's times where these movies are honestly getting harder and harder to break down. Um, and this definitely might have been one of them. There was a lot of runaround where it was kind of confusion about where to break these all down, so I probably really messed this up. But if anything, like, I tried my best. I try to do my best to figure out what best movie to put out here. I make a lot of mistakes. I'm still trying to figure out how to put my best foot forward in every one of these reviews, but I think I put more of my foot in my mouth. Uh, I hope I will be able to go on and find uh, something that people consistently keep clicking into. I'm very much happy that people are going on and to have found stuff like The Replacement Killer, as I was to just kind of be looking at, like, well, yeah, there's not a lot of people that have probably reviewed this or talked about it. Like, that seemed to have been a thing that I could probably take advantage of. But also a thing where I was just like, well, like, I know I'm probably still hitting these very obscure films. And I know that is my biggest problem of just like, I'm not still making the best decisions. But, like, really honestly, when looking back on everything that I've done in the channel, I kind of feel like I've almost kind of done everything. Like, it's getting harder for me to go on and not feel like, besides new releases or besides um just the greatest hits of just like, well, how about I just do Lord of the Rings and all the Harry Potter movies just so that we can have content on here, and how about I just do like every single vampire or werewolf and and zombie movie. um, just so that way I can have content, and that's good and great and all, but like it's not to keep me honest of just like, oh no, I really liked this film. No, like it's just doing content for the sake of doing content. And like I don't want to go on and get to that point where I'm just really just like, well, hey, I just got to keep doing a thing. I got to keep making a movie. Like I want to go on and I want to find something that actually is fun, that like I can justify. It's like, oh yeah, like this movie's fun. Like this movie is what like yeah. There's not a lot of new releases where I see the trailer of or whatever, and I just don't know what the movie is about, and I just go in and I'm like, what the is this? But I didn't know. Like I just checked it out. Um, there are some movies where I've gone on to finally be like, hey, I finally want to check this out, and then when I do, I'm kind of just disappointed about it. Like, I may have thought that like The Exorcist might have been a one where I was like, man, a lot of people were building this up in my mind to be this like horrible, scary movie, and then I'm watching, I'm like, really, this is it? Like this has been built in my mind to be like the most horrific, scary movie, and it really is nothing. Um, all of that, I guess a lot of people will like because my mom would go on and see how bad it is, or how scary it is or whatever, and I'd go on and I'd watch this and be like, it's nothing. So maybe that's a whole generation gap thing. Um, but yeah, but like uh, it's fun to also uh it's also really fun to just get movies under my belt, to finally say that hey, I got this in the channel. I figured out how to review this movie, and it's becoming also just a challenge. It's also becoming um, to a point where like I wish that it didn't have to come up with all these. That at some point, like, because I get it, like I guess I don't probably deserve for me to have rapport with people good enough to uh to have like all the other people have it, to where like everybody is seeing how all their videos are fire, and and they are getting fed these ideas or getting told what to do when it's so easy for them. um but yeah, every once in a while I'll get people that talk about the movie. They talk about how much they love it, or uh, every once in a while I'll get people that go on and they recommend me stuff, which is beautiful. It's great. Like I love those kind of interactions, um, and I always don't want to feel like anything that I'm saying is not like just genuine. There's a lot of times where I just am to probably just second guess everything that I say, or there's times where I just kind of second guess my opinions on movies, and that obviously could even come off in the review where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not quite sure if I should probably call this movie great, or maybe I should say it's dog shit, but because there's a wide number of reactions and everybody has theirs. Like I had a fun time. Like if anything, my grading of movies has really gone on to really get as skewed more and more the longer I've done this, because really at this point, like it's either like thumbs up or thumbs down. Like would I justify X number of time of people watching this that they should check it out, and for this I would. So with that said, I'm gonna get out of here because I know that this is an hour over the movie's time period or whatever. But if anything, people can check at the very beginning of this or the first 10 seconds of it, because that seems to be the consistent. Uh, which also is just to kind of just, it hurts me, but it's just like, what can I do? Um, but I get it that like reviews are kind of a dying art form at this point. And uh like, if anything, I guess it just kind of depends on who's really doing it at this point. Um, but I've really been trying to really through every one of these, um, just try to throw these things out there uh, as the most kind of visually standout thing that I possibly can. But uh, yeah, like we'll kind of see where this one gets me to be. I can completely understand it. This one. Um, no one cares about because if anything, this is just the stupid goofball movie. Uh, that is just be a lot of jokes and whatever. But anyways, like this almost kind of feels quite similar to kind of Pain and Gain, even though that is to be like a real life story. Uh, that to me kind of felt like it was trying to be like this weird comedy kind of thing. Uh, but maybe it was to try to be serious, but I couldn't take it seriously. It was just strange. So, anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.